This is Akashvani. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on Central Consumer Protection Authority's guidelines to tackle coaching sector misconduct to safeguard consumers from deceptive advertisements. The participants are Deepak Kumar Dash, senior journalist, and Anubha Rohatgi, anchor.
Over the last many years, the race to get into professional courses has led to the mushrooming of private coaching centers across the country. In the absence of any laid down policy or regulations covering them, these centers have been indulging in a lot of malpractices, including claims about their success rate through deceptive advertisements. In order to protect students from such unscrupulous operators, the government, via the Central Consumer Protection Authority or the CCPA, has formulated guidelines to tackle the coaching sector misconduct. To discuss the details and significance of the proposed guidelines, I am now joined by senior journalist Deepak Das. Mr. Das, Consumer Protection Regulator CCPA has formulated guidelines by setting clear advertising standards for coaching centers to protect consumers. What are the reasons behind this very significant measure taken by the government?
One thing is the CCPA, it has been constituted under the Consumer Protection Act. So that CCPA, which is Central Consumer Protection Authority, the watchdog for consumer rights, that is empowered to take action. It gets complaint from people, but also it can take action suo motu. So in this case, for this coaching center issue, there had been several complaints that, how coaching institutes put wrong advertisements. Also, if you see, almost every second day you see newspapers, with advertisements, different institutes claiming different things. So CCPA took suo motu cognizance and they started looking into this entire issue. Initially, they sent notices to the coaching institutes, particularly those giving coaching for the UPSC examinations. And then they also sent notices to coaching centers which give training to students or prepare them for competitive examinations like JEE and NIT, all those things. And after they got response, they came to know that it's actually becoming a bigger problem. So penalty were also slapped on some of the institutes. They were directed to withdraw the misleading advertisements. So it went for a long time. Then the idea came that let's have a proper guideline in place so that entire sector is, if not regulated, but they fall in line. So that was the main idea of bringing this entire thing. And as you said, what actually prompted to bring this entire guideline. Going by the term, it's a guideline, but since it has been issued or draft notification has been given under the Act, so once it becomes final rule, it will have enforceability. Second point that you asked about, what is the main idea of the government for doing it? See, Consumer Protection Act, it clearly says that consumer has the right to know everything that he gets. So in this case, misleading advertisements, when any institute, if they give something wrong in the advertisement publicity, so then consumer rights is not protected. So that was the basic idea, that any advertisement that you put for the consumer must be transparent.
You just now, of course, mentioned that, about the full page advertisements that we keep seeing, different coaching centers put so many full page advertisements in newspapers. We see online ads and, with claims about their success rates, number of selections or ranking of their students, their offers of rebate, which are often not completely true. Can you elaborate on what construes as misleading advertisement under these draft headlines?
So misleading advertisement is, as I told you initially, that misleading means something that is not right. You are trying to influence people by claiming something that you don't have. So like one thing, like false urgency, like, making a claim that from this particular institute, 90% students, have already ranked in all these examinations. So what happens? You create some kind of pressure on the mind of people that if you come to the institute, there is a probability of your student or your child, getting better success rate. So that may not be right. If you see this guideline, it specifically says that no institute can claim that they can give 100% guarantee that someone will get a job for competitive examinations, for getting a seat in particular institute or college. So what happens? The minute you say 100%, people usually go by what they read. And if you see it every day, 5 times on television, on YouTube channel, on social media, on print, so there is a possibility that they are actually influencing your mind. So that becomes a misleading advertisement. Second point, if you see, they claim that all the top 10 rankers are from our institute. Then you feel that if my child goes to this particular institute, there's a possibility that he will get that good rank. Third thing, when they say that out of so many students, out of suppose 1,000 students who've been selected, 800 are from my institute. So there's a possibility that it influences our mind. So before taking a rational decision, you will get influenced by what they claim, and that becomes a misleading advertisement.
Now, these centers take advantage of the stress on academic excellence and the premium put on getting into professional courses, increasing, and we see that the increasing cases of deaths by suicides of students studying in coaching centers This underlines the repercussions of false advertising. So in this context, it was again very important to regulate the coaching centers, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. But I'll just give you a small example. So what happens, why this pressure happens? It is not just about the student, it also creates pressure on the family. So there is pressure from family, from peer group, from a school, class, teachers, everyone it comes. As of now, what's happening, once you see the advertisement on a newspaper or on channel or any social media, and you find that this particular institute has a very high track record. So there is a possibility that you feel, even if your child not like that particular course, you feel that if I can take you to that place, that's the shortcut to become a successful student. Now, once that happens, there is a possibility, a high possibility, that actually you are undermining the capability or not understanding the interest of your child, but you feel that this is the route to get to the success. So once that happens, there is a issue that a child who is not inclined to that particular course or a particular track of education, so once he gets there, there is a possibility that he might not do well. Then when he sees that my parents have invested so much, they have sent me to a coaching center, they are keeping me in some other city so that I become the best good student, and he sees that others are doing well, I am not doing well. Second part, when coaching institutes claim that we have more number of students becoming successful, there is also pressure on the teachers in the coaching institutes. If you don't do well, top 10, top 15 in the internal examination, there is a possibility that you are being told in the class that you are not doing well. So that pressure creates huge burden on the mind of a child, and we have seen how people, students have claimed their lives. That's a very tragic part, and that's why I think Rajasthan government came out with guidelines. Then CCPA is coming out with guidelines, particularly with misleading advertisement. Then Ministry of Education, they have also come out with regulations that after what particular age one can go for coaching centers. If you see, it's a very positive thing that all wings of government, state, center, they are trying to deal with this issue from all sides. CCPA is dealing with misleading advertisements so that no one claims anything wrong. Education Ministry is coming out with the guidelines so that the burden on child is less. And state governments, because this is a state subject, if they, states like Rajasthan can come out with good guidelines that can be enforced, I think that will be a big blessing for students in future.
Reading the ads, one gets the feeling that the success of a candidate was solely due to the coaching center and the individual efforts of the students aren't important at all. Now, this misleads students into believing that they cannot succeed through self-study and they have no option but to pay exorbitant fee and join these centers. Now, this creates negative psychological impact not on the students and also financial burden on their parents.
Yeah, because one thing is that at the end of the day, nothing comes free. There is a cost for everything. So the coaching centers charge very high, and once you come to know that this particular institute has very high success rate, so they charge higher, there is a premium. So that creates burden on the parents, on the child. But I think the second part, which is more important, is that now the way the advertisements are appearing on all possible platforms of media platforms, it seems if you don't go to any coaching institute, it's the end of the road. I think that trend has to be somehow curbed. Second point, don't expect, it will be like ideological thinking that, institutes will claim that no, students were doing well, we gave only a little bit of training. No, they will not do that, because once they do that, then they will not get higher fees. So coaching institutes, they will always claim that we did the most for the child. So it is a mix of both the things. They claiming because they want to get more business, and children are becoming more and more dependent on getting spoon-fed of by getting information. I think it's becoming, to my understanding, this has caught the attention of people at high level in government. And I think we'll see more and more regulations coming in this sector.
So according to the proposed guidelines, the penalty for misleading ads by the coaching sector will be governed as per Consumer Protection Act 2019. How significant is this step of bringing the coaching centers under this particular act?
So Consumer Protection Act, as I told you earlier, that the consumer should be properly informed. He should protect his rights. So if you see these provisions of this particular guidelines, 3-4 things that say that whatever you put on the advertisement, that must be substantiated by enough proof that you have. Second point, if you are putting any child's or any successful candidate's photograph, you must get the prior consent, proper consent of that particular student. Then you also have to write that which particular course a particular student did, for how long, whether it was free or it was paid. Then what happens, that everything becomes clear. As a consumer, there is nothing that you are hiding. So under the Consumer Protection Act, if you don't follow these guidelines, end up doing misleading advertisement, then you will be penalized. See, there are 2-3 things. Number one, it is not just about penalty. Once you know that there is a system which is watching you, people will become more careful. That's what the actual role of CCPA. If you see in past 3-4 months, number of advertisements making such misleading claims have stopped, primarily because they know that someone is watching. There will be penalty and there will be action. And what do you advertise? You advertise to get good name. But once you are penalized, you get a bad name. So I think that fear of getting bad name or penalty will bring all these institutes under some kind of control. And since it will be backed by the power of the act, so the penalty will be high. There will be no escape for them. Only way is that they may go and challenge the orders in the higher courts. But I think in all probability, let's hope that all these guidelines will come as a big relief to students. And in long run, this will bring the sector to a much better level.
Mr. Das, one of the guidelines says that whatever claims these coaching centers make in their advertisements have to be substantiated. So what are the particular provisions under this particular guideline?
So 2-3 things that the guideline says, that they have to disclose information of successful candidates with their photograph. There they have to put rank secured by successful candidate, name of the course opted by this successful candidate, then duration of the course. Like I can give an example, when the civil services exams happen. So we have seen several advertisements claiming that all the top 20-30, they were all from one institute. Then the second institute also claimed that they are from our institute. So you got confused that actually at which place, which institute the particular student took the coaching. It was found that quite a few students were actually taken, mock interview. So mock interview is like almost free. Most of the institute do it free. So there is a possibility that you get a wrong information that all the toppers, all the best students are coming out from the institute. Though the fact is that they have done this course only for few days, that's free of cost. So those details have to be put, properly in the advertisement. And it says that when you put advertisement, one good thing about misleading advertisement guideline of CCPA and Consumer Affairs Ministry, it says that hard to miss. Disclaimers should be put in a manner that no one can miss it. What you see nowadays, you will see the advertisement all in claims in big font size or letter size, alphabets. But at the end, there's a very small star and then it says conditions apply or whatever is that. Now they are saying that is not possible. Whatever disclaimer you put, that must be put in a manner that no one can miss it. And so it says that it has to be put in a very prominent manner at a visible place. And the font of the disclaimer must be the same that is been used to make the claim.
So actually looking at it, something as simple as a font size, which nobody would even think about, becomes so very important when it comes to these misleading advertisements.
Yes. So that means that once you say that, suppose me, they put my name and claim that I topped the particular examination from the institute, then disclaimer also has to put very clearly that he took only mock interview for free for 15 days. So I think the main idea of this entire CCPA and Consumer Protection Act is, number one, the consumer protection rights should be protected. Consumer has the right to know. You cannot mislead him. You cannot conceal any information. The minute you conceal, you come under the ambit of Consumer Protection Act and you get the penalty.
Now, the CCPA has sought public comments and suggestions by March 16th on these draft guidelines. This is a very good step taken by the government to bring in these guidelines. But over and above that, what do you think is the need of the hour to regulate these private coaching centers?
I think the main idea of getting feedback from people is that there's a need to listen to the parent side. Once they give the feedback, there's a possibility that they will include more items or they may change few things, and that will be a perfect one. But to tell you very frankly, this is a problem that has been happening for a very long time. If I can recall, in past 15-20 years, it has become much more bigger. And this monster is going to create a bigger problem. I think considering that all these steps are being taken, simultaneously being taken by different ministries. One thing, what I expect, what we saw in past 1 or 2 months, some of the coaching institutes are mushrooming in areas where you can't even reach properly. The infrastructure is not good. I think a time has come when people should also give such feedback so that it should not just ensure that misleading advertisement is only confined to the quality, but also of the physical infrastructure.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Mr. Das.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on Central Consumer Protection Authority's guidelines to tackle coaching sector misconduct to safeguard consumers from deceptive advertisements. The participants were Deepak Kumar Dash, Senior Journalist, and Anubha Rohatgi, Anchor. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of Akashvani. You can listen to it on our mobile app News on AIR. This program is also available on our YouTube channel News on AIR Official. You may share your feedback about this program through email at airnsdtalks@gmail.com or WhatsApp on 92890 94044.